So what's the most direct and undeniable answer to prayer that you've personally witnessed?
Oh, man, the most direct and undeniable. So I would say there have been hundreds, maybe thousands of those in my life that I've seen. But some of them that fit in the miraculous category are the ones that stand out the most to me. So I'll tell one story of a guy by the name of Ethan. And Ethan was in the hospital because he had a bullet wound that had gone through his brain, through his spinal cord, and severed his spinal cord. I got a call about 1 or 2 in the morning one night. I went to the trauma center at Creighton at the time and went there and kind of comforted the family. Well, I came back the next day, and when I was there at the time, it just happened that only the dad and I were in the room when the doctor came into the room in order to be able to give the diagnosis. And he said, "I'm sorry, your son Ethan's spinal cord is completely severed. He'll never walk again, so just start making plans for, how you're going to live with somebody who's confined to a wheelchair and needing to do rehabilitation for the rest of his life." And it was a very cold diagnosis that came from this doctor, very unfeeling. And as you can imagine, Dad just crumbled in tears, and I was in tears as well. One other thing the doctor said that I forgot is he said, barring a miracle, he'll never walk again. And so I turned to the dad and I said, "Gene, the doctor said, barring a miracle, he'll never walk again. So let's just pray for a miracle." And so we gathered around him, held hands with him. He was unconscious at the time, but we still held his hands, and we prayed that God would do a miracle. And I came back, I can't remember how much later, a few days or a week later, to check in on him and see how he was doing. And when I visited him in the hospital at this point, Ethan was awake. And Ethan said, Gene said, "Hey, Ethan, Pastor Mark is here. Let's show him something." And he pulled the covers off of Ethan's feet, and Ethan's toes started wiggling like this, which means that his spinal cord had reconnected, which medically it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. He's wiggling his toes. And then Gene says, "Ethan, stop messing with him. Show him what you can do." And Ethan took his entire leg and started lifting it on and off of the bed at that point.
Wow.
And so Ethan had obviously dramatic, miraculous recovery at that point. And now he walks and talks and drives, and it's not perfect for him, but he's functional, and he's got a son now, and he's gone to college and all of those kinds of things. And so you see this amazing, dramatic miracle that took place in Ethan's life.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things where I go, there is no medical explanation for that, and God answered in a miraculous way.
Yeah, I know for me, there's a lot of them as well, but one of them, when my grandpa died, and I remember my mom was out of town on a youth retreat, and this is when I was an adult, and he was in the hospital. Things weren't going well, and so we called my mom. Grandpa's gonna die, and her only prayer was that she'd be able to say goodbye to him. And so I remember the doctors coming out. My mom was probably 30 minutes away from town. They came out and said, "He's gone," and so we all gotta say goodbye to my grandpa. And then literally like 5 minutes later, a nurse came running out, and she's like, "The doctor on the TV, like he was dead." And then the doctor that was watching, from, I don't know, their living room or somewhere that was there watching the vital signs, said he came back.
Wow.
And so my mom was able to go in there. His heart was beating again. He was alive. She was able to, say goodbye to him, and then died again.
Wow.
And so it was one of those things. There was not like a if you're God then kind of thing, but it was just one of the sweet moments of God's grace, of saying she just wants to have closure and say goodbye, to my grandpa. And so it was one of those beautiful, undeniable moments of prayer. Like, God, could you just, let her say goodbye. That's what she wants. And it felt like there was not an answer, but then there made no sense for they were starting to clean up the room, take everything away, why his vitals just started working again, and even why a doctor was able to see it, call the nurse and buzz in. So it was kind of one of those cool moments that I'll never forget, of an undeniable answer to prayer.